Now you may well have seen my previous video on painting little wildflowers, and what we're actually going to do is put those wildflowers together to make a hydrangea. So you will notice that the flowers should be overlapping, jumbling around on top of each other. For a good idea of this, do a reference. I put a reference link below to Pinterest where I've got a board on different hydrangea flowers. Okay, so do bear in mind that this is not a botanical, this is a loose watercolour flower. So the brush I'm going to use is quite a cheap brush, but it's a hard brush. I do have this Coatman 6mm. I find it a bit too soft, to be honest with you, so I'm going for a harder brush. I'm also going for these Chinese mop brushes, number 2 or number 4 will do fine. And then I'm going to use some of these Semiarts paints that I bought from AliExpress, link below. And by the way, I pay for all of this. None of it is sponsored by anyone. So you're not going to be, you know, this is my honest opinion, not what I'm paid to do. So we're going to start off with quite a watery mix here of the purple and, well actually that's lilac and that's fuchsia. So lilac and fuchsia mixed together, and it'll give you this sort of nice watery mix. I want to make sure that my brush is wet enough, and then I'm just going to take a tiny bit on the very edge, and I'll show you what I mean by very edge. So you should then get slight ombre in the colours. If it's too much paint, get rid of that. Then we start with our usual, somewhere in the centre, think of this as an oval for your flower, then somewhere in the centre start like that, turn, turn and turn, and then you've got your first hydrangea flower. Now if you look on your reference, you will see that hydrangeas have got quite a little point on the outside edge. So let me get a little bit more. And I'm going to do the next one, and you can overlap your flowers, because when you look at your reference you will see that the flowers on the hydrangea do overlap. They're sort of all higgledy-piggledy. And this is what we're aiming for. Not too overlap, mind, otherwise it's going to look like a total mess. And you'll see that I haven't bothered as yet to put any more paint on, because a little bit of paint with artist watercolours goes a long way. And bear that in mind all the time. So I'm just going to keep on going. And even though this is just photocopy paper, you will see that because the brush is quite dry, that it's working without it buckling the paper. If you were doing this on real watercolour paper, you'd have to make your paint a little bit wetter. Before this, we're kind of happy where we are. So I just keep on turning my brush to achieve this, and I'm going to keep on going until I've painted an oval shape pretty similar to that one. Okay, without making you watch me paint every single flower, I've finished the flowers. You'll notice I've got some on top of the others so that it looks like a bunch of flowers all growing higgledy-piggledy together. Now the next job we're going to do is we're going to just put a little dot of green in the centre of the flowers. Now before any of you tell me, I know that hydrangea flowers haven't got a green centre, but because of what we're doing here, we need something to give it a bit of definition, and with watercolours it's very hard to paint white on top of anything else. So anywhere where you see you think there should be a centre, just put a dot, and that's all you need. Alright, it just brings it out. Right, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put a stem in, and I've got this number 2 brush here, and I'm just going to put a very gentle stem with a couple of notches on the side where the leaves should be, and then I'm going to put a leaf on either side. And right, if you see my leaves on here, they are sort of quite pointed and not particularly straight along the edges. So what I've done is I have used my brush just to give myself a bit of an outline. Okay, you with me? Oops, sorry. And then I'll do the same on the other side. Not like that, just a little bit further up. Right, okay. Now with my 2 colours mixed together, I've got grass and olive green in there. And bearing in mind this is only photocopying paper, so it's not going to be perfect, I'm going to put a little wash of colour in there. And then while it's still wet, I'm going to take the darker of the 2 greens, which is this olive green, and I'm just going to drop a little bit of the darker colour there, down at the bottom. And then using still the point of this, I'm just going to do a couple of lines going down there to suggest the veins of the leaf, and that's about it. Okay, so you've made yourself a nice little note card on cheap paper, but the point is you've practiced, so when you go on to your more expensive paper you know what you're doing and it'll be far easier. So don't forget, like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next video where we will actually move on to watercolour paper.